And we're back with more build footage. So here we are creating the walls. I believe these are the library walls by rug glitching all of these many dressers or whatever they're called into place. So I had to set the length by moving those dressers into place and then set down the post, which created the end to that particular segment. So now that I've laid out kind of the length that I want and gave myself a little bit of room to work, now I'm going to set this post and then move that last dresser back into place. So I still have a little bit of a crack there, so I'm going to have to seal that up with another post. And now, once I rug glitch this back into place, should be no daylight showing through. So these are the other dressers that I use to make that kind of wall texture element. I'm just doing them 3 at a time just because it seemed easier at the time, may or may not have been, but that's the way I chose to do it. Later on I figured out that you can actually rug glitch things from the other side. So facing the object that you want to rug glitch, you don't actually have to have the rug in view to do it, but and now I'm just placing a wall segment on the end past where the shelving stopped. So I'm going to have the other dressers continue on down this wall segment, but the centerpiece is going to be the wooden wall rather than more of the containers with the shelves. And again, I'm just using occlusion to try to get it straight there. So now we're setting up the top row. Kind of gives it a wooden paneling look or some such deal. So now I'm creating the fireplace, just using the same technique of rotating posts and moving them into place. So now we're going to place the library lights. I did these all at once because I wanted to get them all lined up, and I did this before I put in the fireplace because the hearth of the fireplace were those concrete blocks, and so I was able to pillar glitch down into that concrete block. So I wanted to use that so that I could set my height before it was filled up with the fireplace. So it's a trick that I discovered by accident, not because of any brilliance on my part, but it did work pretty well, so might be something that somebody could use in their own build. So here's another trick. If you want to pillar glitch something from below something to above something, you just set down some floors. You don't even actually have to pillar glitch it. You can just grab it as I did there and lift it up, and it'll land straight on those floors. And now we're just filling in the walls in the transition between the Great Hall and the foyer. So I did pillar glitch these because it's kind of tricky sometimes to be able to see the entire piece that you're trying to glitch into place, because I wanted to be able to see both the top and the bottom. So that's why I had it set up that way. So here I'm creating the circular staircase that comes down in the foyer. And so what I've done is I've set up, when I spoke earlier about rotating around a single point using that post, I've set up kind of a boom structure so that I can rotate. I have a semicircular floor set up above, and this boom rotates around, and I tweaked it so that the ends of the staircase stayed even with that semicircular floor above. So all I have to do is move it up and down and rotate it, and I can lay the stairs, and I can also do it on both sides. It is kind of fiddly, as everything else in this building tool making small movements is nearly impossible, so you just have to keep messing with it. And now I'm doing the flares at the bottom of the staircase. So I actually have 3 points of reference here. So the main riser, which is on the left, the front and the back are 2 points, and then the other point is on the right of the flare. I want it to exactly match up with the one below it. So I don't really need to measure the angles on these because I can just measure that they went through the proper points. But it did take a while to get everything exactly where I wanted it. So now I'm just looking at the front, at the back. And then to see that that last one is directly above the flare beneath it. So now we're just creating the textured ceiling out of about 1 million outhouse seats that is in the foyer. I just want to make sure that that last row meets up with the walls, and I maintained all the walls at roughly the same height, or as best I could to the same height, so that when I drop the ceiling down, it'll drop down completely flush right onto the top of those walls. So that's what I'm going to do here. Now, of course, just double checking to make sure I didn't miss anything, make any errors. Last thing I want to do is do a whole bunch more work and then find out that I screwed something up. I have to go back and reproduce all that work after the fact. So now we are setting up the red carpet. So I have kind of a template laid out there on the right, just so I could remember how I wanted everything laid out. So each one of the risers on the staircase was 4 of these chairs, just the top of the, obviously the top of the chair back was sticking out. And then the ones on the floor leading towards the front door are the couches of the same color. And it's pretty much the same process as here, except I was able to lay them on floors instead of having to pillar glitch them into place. Pillar/rug glitch them into place, rather. So now that I have everything laid out, I create kind of a tab there that I can use to pillar glitch it into place. These floors that I'm standing on right here were snapped from the ones above, so they're parallel, so I'm going to use them to try to get this as straight as I can and as centered as I can also, even though I'll have to adjust it. So I keep running up the stairs to kind of align myself and get as parallel as I can on that floor piece. So it's kind of hard to see, but the reason that I made that tab that way was so that I wouldn't grab the last set that I'd put in there. If you get it too close, when you try to reset the one that you're working on, you also grab the ones behind it. I didn't want to do that. So I alternated those tabs on the left and right to make sure that there was a little bit of space between them. And now it's just a matter of adjustment, get it into the right spot. So now I'm creating the arches that went into the foyer. So I just wanted a different pattern, so I made a different set of arches, and these ones actually are a lot easier to build. I don't need to use the same template design that I did on the other set, because as you can see, these pillars do not clip into the ones next to them. They're completely separate, so you can build it from above or below rather than having to use the floorboards. That's the reason I had to use the floorboards, was because on the double arches, the pieces actually clipped into their neighbors on the left and right, and so you couldn't slot them in from above or below with a template. But this one, I can just do it from the template below and snap them. It's a lot easier. Now it's just a matter of pillar glitching them into place. Everything lined up on the floorboard. Make sure I've got the right wall segment. So now we're doing the walls in the foyer. By now I figured out that I could rug glitch it from the back side, so that was helpful. Only took me a while to figure it out. So I'm just checking the top there to make sure that it's at the right position. And now we're going to do the dressers. So this is the template for building the walls on the facade outside in front. And these are the ones with the window segments. So first I'm setting the multi-story wall into place. Now this is kind of the surrounding piece that gives it a little bit of depth so that I can put a wall section on the back and have the cycling light inside below the window. Take me a minute to figure out what piece I want here. I actually need to remove that wall segment before I put this in place. So the reason that I had to build this template for the entire wall section was so I could maintain the proper height rather than just stacking things. This wall section would have been a different height than the ones adjacent to it. So using occlusion to get that lined up. So as you can imagine, this level of perfection is probably not at all necessary, but I guess it's a little bit of OCD or whatever shown through, because if I see anything that's not completely straight, then it just nags at me. So that's why I take absolutely forever to line everything up. So now the side pieces go in. And that roof piece right there is already in place. So at this point, I'm ready to put the cycling light in. And now we just hang a wall and back. Because these windows are going to be viewed from below, it doesn't have to be flush with the bottom, it just has to be flush with the top. So these are the wall segments with the rounded elements and the columns. So I'm just working off the template below. That template below is just created on top of the rounded concrete floor segments. So I'll use that in the inserts in the foyer where the vases are at the top of the stairs. So I already had that template. Oops, looks like I unsnapped the wrong piece there, so no worries though. So now I just need to pillar glitch this into place at the top of that wall section. So I left enough space between the conduit and the piece that I'm trying to glitch in that I can do it from the back side. And that way I can make sure that it's kind of even and flush. So I have the pillar pieces set up at the bottom, and they should be height corrected so that when I build all the way to the top, it just hangs down and meets with that piece on top. And then I had to make corrections at the bottom, but that was going down into the cement warehouse floors, so it was really, well, it wasn't easy, but it was possible to deal with that at the bottom. So these were a little bit fiddly about getting them in, but eventually I was able to get it done. They just wanted to jump up to the floor above. So this is the creation of the wrought iron fence around front. These are the raider poles, and they're very strange. I only discovered by accident that you can't simply pillar glitch these poles down on the ground. They just won't drop. But you can attach them to a floor piece, specifically that small warehouse floor tile that I use there, and you can pillar glitch that whole thing down to the ground, and they go in just fine, which is weird. I don't understand why that is, but it's the way it is. And then I was able to pillar glitch these into the sides and then snap another concrete warehouse floor right over the top of it. So that wasn't a problem. And it was a little bit more difficult to do it on the other side because it was quite a ways off the ground, but just had to figure out how to get the right angle, make sure that I could see the base of my whatever pillar I was using to glitch it into place. and then I just set the height there by the one next to it. So now I'm lining up the conduits that are going to be the fence railings. So just a matter of trial and error once I get them straightened out, then I'll have a template that I can use to make all of the railings. So you can, the reason I'm doing it this way is because you can pillar glitch these down through those raider spikes, but you can't snap them through, so you gotta do it that way to get everything lined up. Now once I have the entire template set out, I can set the height. And then simply unsnap from that row and raise my template back up and do it again. So now we are placing carrots. Oh my gosh, so many carrots. And for some reason this is, I have no idea why, but this is the one of the strangest elements about this build tool is when you pillar glitch, maybe all crops, I guess I only use the carrots and the mute fruit, but when you pillar glitch those into place, the system seems to see the carrot in its new position, but it also kind of thinks that it's still in its old position. So if you watch, you see all these posts that I have laid out here. This is all the places where I put pillar glitch carrots. So you can see that there's nothing there, but it's registering that carrot is still there. So if you go back to the same spot and pillar glitch another one there, you'll grab that one and the previous one that you just placed, and you'll have no idea why that is. So I literally had to lay out all those posts so that I would not accidentally pillar glitch the previous carrot, and so my settlement ended up looking like some sort of a war memorial cemetery or something. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it took forever. And eventually, as you can see, I did kind of wise up and set down some conduits so I could keep everything lined up a little bit better. And finally, this is how I got the glowing fungus to stand up. When you go into build mode, like some other placed objects, you can get them to stand up straight. Sometimes they do. That one didn't. I don't know why or why not, but some places they would stand up, so I just threw a couple down. That one decided to play ball. So there you go. That's how that was done. Alright guys, thanks for watching my build footage. Hope it was helpful.